Hello everyone, welcome back to That One FNaF Guy. You have seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you know what we're doing. A supreme guide for Shreddy Fazchair. Seeing as I've already made 2 other guides about Shreddy, you'd think there's not a lot more to talk about, but there is. He's been referenced in Dead by Daylight, he's made an appearance in Halloween Horror Nights, he's had concept art revealed. Safe to say, I have enough content to drag this series out for one more video. And I've managed to get an exclusive interview with Marionettist, who you should totally check out, by the way. His socials are in the description. So strap in, just maybe not in a torture machine, because we are diving into everything we know about this machine. So, this video will be split up into the info from the movie novel, the content creator vlogs, behind the scenes videos and images, interviews that the actors have done, the collabs he has been in, opinions from other content creators, extra info that wouldn't fit anywhere else, and finally theories about the machine. Massive shout out to Keeno, who is covering the movie novel and the theories section, and of course making the thumbnail for this video, and Marionettist, who gave us the interview, and every other content creator who gave their opinion for this video. Go check them all out, I'll link them in the description. So let's start with the movie section. So let's start with the 2 victims of the trap. There's Bob and there's Mike Schmidt. Bob's is actually the cold opening for the movie, and he gets chased by Foxy, and Foxy drags him into the parts and service room. We know this because Marionettist, the actor, posted it on Twitter, and the movie novel. So the strap, which is apparently leather, gets clamped over his chest, and his arms get restrained. Then the machine turns on. It should be noted that whoever controls the machine waits for the guard to be awake before turning on the machine. Then the blades spin as the pupils shrink. Oh yeah, the pupils can enlarge and shrink, and they enlarge after seeing him struggle. Then we get this overhead shot, which shows that his legs aren't restrained, which is interesting as in the novel they're described as being restrained. He then manages to loosen a screw, which is kinda a throwback to him unscrewing the vent in the opening of the movie. Then we get this shot which shows his face in Shreddy's mouth, which is a nice detail considering Phone Guy says,
the only parts of you that would likely see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth when they pop out the front of the mask.
Then he dies off camera. Now let's move on to Mike. Presumably what starts the animatronics turning on Mike is Abby scribbling over the drawings with Mike, but that is just speculation and not confirmed. And as he disagrees with the kids, they attack him. It should be noted that Foxy is the last kid to attack Mike when he wakes up, like how Bob got put in the trap when Foxy attacked him. This time we can see the machine is already on when he wakes up. And Mike once again is framed in the mouth, just closer this time. But Mike, using the screw that Bob loosened, manages to open the arm grasp. Then he presses a yellow button to unfree him from the arm grasp, and then he slides under the machine. And the fact that there's a button to get someone out of the machine further supports it being a stuffing machine. If it was a torture machine, do you think it would have a button to stop it from working? Probably not. Then Mike encounters the vandals, who are stuffed into suits, which could infer that at least some of them could have been put in the torture machine. But that is it for the movie. And now I'll pass it on to Keeno for the movie novel.
Hi everyone, thanks for That One FNaF Guy for having me on for another Shreddy guide. I always love doing these. So in the movie novel, it offers insight that wasn't in the film. Now, it should be noted that Scott Cawthon debunked some scenes. I don't think the Shreddy scenes are affected though, so without further ado, let's get into the scenes. Start out the same as the movie, but the Foxy scene with him dragging Bob is actually described. He notices the yellow rabbit drawing and it freaks him out. Then he falls in a dreamlike state, and then Bob's body is whipped up from the floor and thrown onto the torture machine. He then feels the metal from his back. He looks around and feels steel wrapping itself around his back, buttocks and thighs, although in the movie there's nothing covering the thighs of the guard. It should be noted that he knows about this chair. He knew he was in. Now here is where it gets interesting. The 2 halves of the bear peeled back like the wings of a beetle, expanding outward as the fur parted. Spinning robotic mechanisms filled Bob's vision. Now this was likely an early design of Shreddy, but it's interesting because where have we heard of face peeling back? That's right, sister location. What this immediately reminded me of was the Count the Ways Freddy, but I don't think so. It's definitely possible though, but who knows. He describes the saws as a small lethal weapon that could easily pierce human skin. First blade slices into Bob's jaw, and then all the other blades pierce his cheeks, forehead, eyes, and mouth. That's all for Bob's interaction with the torture machine. Now on to Mike's. He wakes up in the machine, and his senses don't cooperate with him. He sees a robotic arm suspended, a bare mask peeled open, notice the repeat on peeled open, and on metal bits of metal in the mask. Mike tried to get up, and then he realized that he was bound to the chair, just like Bob. A steel bands around his wrists and a tight leather strap around his chest. One of his efforts to break out worked, but a bolts give way. It should be noted that the yellow button in the chair is actually green in this. So, Scott, fix the novel, please. This version, he actually clicks the strap apart instead of going under it. That's it. Although it should be noted, when Mike wakes up in the police outpost, he thinks he's in the chair again. That's all for the novel adaptation. Now let's talk about the YouTuber vlogs.
So, if you didn't know, 4 YouTubers, Dorko, Yazbowski, 8-Bit Ryan, and Baz, they recorded their experiences at set. So this means that we got to see
Torture Freddy.
And it gave us some interesting details, like how Jim Henson's sign is in one of the cogs of the machine, and how there are stars in the cogs.
It's like stars and the gears, and then this is our shop's, Creature Shop's logo.
In Dorko's second vlog, we can actually hear that this is actually Shreddy's body.
Just bits and pieces.
I know what this green one is.
I'm the torture head really.
Ah, okay.
Which is cool to have confirmation. The cogs can also turn different ways at the same time. Also, the stand has wheels on it, so that is cool, I suppose. The vlogs also just offer better looks at the machine, which I find pretty cool. But that's really about it for the movie vlogs. I do suggest you watching them, but there's really not much about Shreddy in these vlogs, so yeah. Let's move on to the behind the scenes images and videos. So I'm starting with the videos that show behind the scenes shots. The first one is from the extras of the movie, which is Bob in the machine. Then there's one of the 4 YouTubers recording the machine. Then there's one of Emma Tammy watching the machine turn. It's interesting that the lights aren't on but the saws can still move. Then there's one of the face of the machine. Then there's one of Mike being recorded. Then there's a BTS shot of it with purple eyes. I don't know if these are behind the scenes, but there are shots of the machine unedited in the Freddy in Space 3 game when you unlock the secret video. Then there's one of the videos that was released before the movie, which is Mike being in the machine. Then there's one that Cat Connor Sterling posted, which shows the torture machine in the background. We also have this audition tape from JSProductions, which is pretty awesome. Now let's move on to the images. This one shows Shreddy Fazchair next to the other heads. One with Kim in front of the chair but no Freddy head. One of Ryan in the machine. One of the machine in front of Freddy. One of Ella in the chair. And also the first behind the scenes shot of the film, which is Mike Schmidt in the torture chair. One with Artie, the puppeteer, controlling it. We also got a very similar one released on their Instagram. One of the chair. One of the programmers working on the machine. One of the machine not active. We got an image of Mike in the torture machine, which was on a lobby card. A cinematic shot of the machine. Then we got 2 of Mike sitting in the chair, with Shreddy behind him. Then we have one that features the spring bunny head, which is only one of the saws, but still kinda neat. Piper Rubio, in her interview with Dorko, said that she took an image of herself with the chair.
And then I saw Shreddy Fazchair. And then I have a photo that, it's on my mom's phone though. It's of me. I went behind it and I like put my face really close. Also foam.
And finally, we got our first behind the scenes photo of FNaF 2. In the background, you can see one of the saws used on Shreddy. But that is it for the behind the scenes shots. Big shout out to Cat Sterling fan for most of these images. Now let's move on to my exclusive interview with JSProductions. So, originally, was there any more scenes with like the Fazchair that was cut?
Well, as far as other scenes with other actors, I wouldn't have been privy to. It just would have been the stuff that I was filmed there. And as far as like other shots that they may have gotten and didn't use, most certainly, but that's not uncommon for a film. I mean, you overshoot different angles and stuff, and when you're editing it, you have more options. There was one scene where I was being drugged down a hallway, and there was like blood trailing behind my head.
Question about that later.
Yeah, that was filmed, and that took quite a setup to do.
Yeah.
And I understand why I didn't make the cut, but I really wanted. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna look so awesome," and well, I'm sure it does somewhere.
I was looking forward to it in the Blu-ray or whatever.
It might be on like an extended release and 10-year anniversary or something. Who knows?
Hopefully. So originally there was an R-rated draft of the FNaF movie. Did you film any of that, or was it just the PG-13 cut?
Well, for example, when the whole blood trail down the hallway thing, when you're trying to get a PG-13 rating, like you have to kind of have sympathy for the movie because they're really doing a balancing act, right? They're trying to thread a very thin needle, right? They want to appeal like 20-year-olds, right, who want like blood, guts, and everything, all the squishy parts. But then they have to get the parents okay to get the 10-year-olds to come in there, or the 13-year-olds to come in there, and that's a lot of money because then Johnny comes with his buddy Bobby, and then the mom brings her friend so she's not bored watching a dumb kids movie, whatever. And so that's a lot of money on the table. So when you're trying to please that many people of an audience, you've got to water your stuff down to a certain degree, and there are things you give up in that process that might go against your creative vision. And it's just the cost of doing business, unfortunately. And then there are some people that's like, no, fuck it, it's going to be what it is. This many people will like it. All these people will want to burn it at the stake, but it's the truest to the vision that there is. And I respect that, and I understand the other.
Yeah. I think that's a satisfying answer. Yeah. The Shreddy scene, of course, it's just a lot of you screaming. Was there much of like just improv, or were you given like a lot of direction? Like what?
Well, I mean, it was pretty clear what the game was,
Yeah.
It was like, oh, it's not going to be a surprise birthday party and all the fuzzy animals pop out and like release you from this. No, it's like you're going to die, dude. Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of up to me to figure out like the tolerances of the actual chair that I was in, because I was restrained, but I could have broken the machine to escape it had I to really, Yeah. And as an actor, you don't want to break your props generally, unless that's part of, the direction, especially something that God knows how many people spent how many hours on it, essentially a work of art. So I was trying to find how I could like jerk my arms in a controlled fashion to make it look like the collars and the cuffs are stopping my wrists, and kind of cheat it like that. When you like punch somebody, but you like fall just short, you're cheating the punch, cheating the straining to a certain degree, and trying to think about like what muscle groups you would be using as you're trying to strain against something and try to, cord out where necessary. It's a good playground for anybody who has the OCD or too many thinkies.
Yeah.
But I mean, the direction was like, dude, you're in a chair, you're gonna get your face torn off. You try to get out of the chair, but you don't.
Yeah.
And then to unscrew the thing, like it was difficult to try to find that angle because in the script, it's like he loosens a bolt, but then you get there and it's like the bolt is under this other thing protected by like wires. And it's like, that's half the fun of it is figuring the stuff out,
Yeah. Speaking of the script, do you remember how they described the torture machine in the script? Was it accurate to the actual device, or if not, if you don't remember that?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I don't know. Give me a second. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me check something. I mean, if you got the time.
Yeah, I got the time.
Okay. Scene 6, interior Freddy's, parts and service room. Wham! The guard is thrown into a large metal chair. A button on the side of the chair turns green as steel restraints clamp around his wrists and straps tighten around his chest. In the background, work tables, shelving, and a scattering of mechanical parts suggest we are in some sort of robotics workshop. Bang! The chair snaps backward and the guard shrieks as his field of vision is suddenly filled with a large bear mask, which rotates to reveal an interior of spinning razor-sharp mechanisms. As the mask descends towards him, the guard thrashes like an animal, trying desperately to free himself from the chair. Angle on a bolt, which holds one of the armrests in place. As it begins to loosen, feeling the wiggle, the guard's eyes fill with hope, which quickly turn to despair as the mask rips into his face.
Wow.
And then it's on.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I can definitely see the how the movie novelization took from that, because of course that's kind of not what we got in the movie. Like some, yeah. So I took the thrashes like an animal. So I guess that was my direction that I took from the script, and just the very clear what would one do in such a situation. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess some people would just
cry into a heap and not do anything. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. So you previously said in an interview that Shreddy's saws were made out of EVA foam. Do you know anything else about the Fazchair or Shreddy or whatever?
I would guess predominantly aluminum fabrication. I think they said that they found an old dentist chair that they kind of used as the main chassis and built top of. Now that maybe somebody said that, maybe I just thought somebody said that, maybe I think that that's what happened, or maybe all three. But it had pneumatic, like air driven power for the clamps and stuff like that. It had like the thing that the mast was on was actually like a separate entity that they could wheel around that you like put an IV bag on at a hospital or something. So it was like a little crane and had the mast swinging from it. So that was handy for them to be able to position exactly for the camera to line up with my face screaming in the foreground. You know, that stuff's tough to do. Whether or not it was supposed to look like it was part of the chair, probably it was supposed to be intended to be part of the chair, because elsewise, who's moving it, you know? Or is it moving by itself? Could be. I am into arts and crafts and prop making and stuff, so I just kind of recognize some of the tools of the trade. The dilating little irises were wicked. They were very responsive. They made a great sound. I mean, of course, they put, juiced up the sound of the movie, but I mean, they kind of sound like that, like little Wolverine claws with a bumblebee crossbreed. And I mean, all this shit you could probably, if you search for, find and buy that. You probably get at some scientific industrial supply place, and then they probably just had some LED panels behind those that they had to a specific color. But yeah, I mean, if you're crafty, nothing's stopping you from making one of those, really.
Someone linked to me the actual chair that they used in the film. It's a dentist one, yeah. So.
Oh right, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll send you the link after.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Do you know what the Fazchair was referred to on set? Was it even referred to?
I think just ominously the chair, maybe.
The chair.
It's time for the chair. No, I didn't really pick up on that.
Okay.
To be honest.
Okay. So your first day of filming was with the vents, and your second day of filming was with the chair. How many hours do you reckon it took to film the Fazchair scene?
Well, the first day, let's see. Probably about 9 hours on the Fazchair day, and probably about 12 on the vent day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But I mean, it's not like you're going all that time, On a film production, there's so many departments that you're up and down, up and down, up and down. As an actor, it's like, oh, we got to move the camera from here to there. It's like, oh, I know that's going to be at least 45 minutes, right? So I get my book, I just chill out, I go into standby mode pretty much. So you meter yourself. And then if you're, a grip or something, you got to move all the cables and the film shit for those 45 minutes you're working. But then while actor guy is acting, you get to, take a break.
Yeah.
More or less. Mm-hmm. But I mean, still, they are, considerable days sometimes.
Yeah. So of course the makeup department put the wad of blood on your hair during that cut scene. Did they ever do anything else with the makeup department?
Actually, I want to say it was a cooperation between the makeup department and the set painting department, because they have an on-set painter. They had, your paint crew on movie films. I used to work that in New Orleans for a while. Great job. IOTC 478. And then when they're on the day of filming, they always have like the best badass ninja samurai set painter.
Yeah.
And they pay that person just to hang around with a bunch of paint in case anything needs to be done while they're filming, right?
Yeah.
And they got her, and I actually knew her from the time that I worked in New Orleans like 20
Wow.
years ago. And I'm sitting there on the floor with like, she's like putting, some blood mixture with paint. There was like the makeup crew wasn't prepared for it, and they were improvising or something like that. Like, it's all about figuring out problems, and it was great. And then after they drugged me down the hallway and there's a long streak of blood on the floor, then the art department, like, Ninja has to come in and clean up the floor because that's technically within her department within the union structure, it was a big to do. But it was great. I mean, they came up, they ended up coming up with this like dark red kind of chunky looking stuff.
Wow.
They said I was losing hair on the floor too. They were like, Ryan, I was like, fucking metal, dude.
Yeah, wow. Did you ever get to mess with like the Fazchair, like their remote thing, or nah?
No. I mean, I was able to see it before we were filming, and like not a lot of people were there, just the principal people and like the kids, stunt doubles and stuff. And I was poking the chair, just kind of seeing how it worked. But I knew enough to know that I don't know enough to bother even attempting to touch the damn thing, because with my luck, it'd be that one thing, and the whole thing would like the air exhaust in the Death Star or whatever.
What was it like being on set with the Fazchair?
Well, it's great. I mean, it's kind of legendary. And I was like walking to it, I didn't know where it was because they have this huge space. It used to be like a construction supply store, like a giant store at Lowe's, Home Depot. We have them here. And it had been bought out and converted into a studio. And within this studio, there are these like plywood domes that they build, like these little isolated sound stages, like you're colonizing the moon or something. And you go in there and it's pitch fucking black. So I'm walking around during a downtime, just exploring the area, the studio space. And I come around like a corner. I'm like, oh, what's around this corner? And then like I see the chair like just revealed. And I'm like, it's like, I don't know, kind of the Ark of the Covenant kind of moment, little slow motion Matrix thing. And then I realized other people are looking at me look like that. And there was some amount of reverence too. And I kind of talked to them about the chair and blah, blah, blah. And ended up talking to one of the Jim Henson guys there from that. Actually, ladies, I believe.
So Artie, I'm not sure if you know him. He's the guy who puppeteered the Shreddy Fazchair.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you connected with him on Twitter in one of your other interviews. Yeah. He mentioned.
Yeah, he's like a great guy.
Yeah. He mentioned in an interview that Scott wanted to take the torture chair home with him. Do you know anything else about this?
One, I don't doubt it. Two, he probably fought pretty hard for it. But I don't know. I can see some kind of like team of universal lawyers being like, okay, Mr. Cawthorn, like, we appreciate that, but this is an asset for the movie, and we're probably going to make more, and you're going to make more money. So pay somebody to make you a fucking chair until like we're done with the trilogy, or how many ever they're going to be doing.
In like a behind the scenes video, Shreddy had purple eyes, and recently at the Halloween Horror Nights event, he had purple eyes. Do you know anything about them being purple? Did you film scenes with the purple eyes, or no?
I honestly don't recall. I can imagine it just was probably some, LED panel that's probably a standard size stamped out of China that has the spectrum thing, and they probably maybe were evaluating between a couple of different colors, and so some press leaked of them doing a screen test or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think this is the end of Shreddy?
What do you mean?
Like, do you think we will see him again in a sequel?
If I know anything from Nightmare on Elm Street and the Hellraiser movies, it's that you can't keep a good demon down,
Yeah.
It can always be reassembled. can always be found by some doddering old man who's in retirement and he just likes making little sculptures and stuff, and he's just like possessed to put this back together. And I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Hopefully what doesn't happen with this or, any franchise is when they just keep beating the horse trying to shake more nickels out of its bones. At a certain point, it's like, just shoot it in the head and send it to the Elmer Company and make some glue out of the damn thing. Like, we've explored it. We've had enough,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad was one that was not that. They had a very clear story, a very clear end, and they held themselves to that. Walking Dead's just, I mean, it's the show itself is Walking Dead, like who the fuck watches that anymore? Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's such a great, unique franchise that speaks to my generation, which Scott is kind of from, and we share, is, the Chuck E. Cheese's and the Showbiz Pizzas. I remember that shit. You wanted to go there. Like, if you didn't go to Showbiz Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese and your parents did not love you, I mean, that was, if you got McDonald's, it was like, oh, you might be adopted, right? But anyway, suffice it to say, it's a great original like concept and so awesome. And I don't know, Scott seemed to have this feel too. I don't think he would let it become that, because he was really fighting for the artistic integrity of having like as many practical effects as possible. And as a producer, being able to kind of fight for that. And hey, we're paused until this is like more legit because this is my creation thing. And I admire that, it's too easy to take the money and be like, oh, whatever, do what you guys want.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. That's all I've wrote down.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I certainly appreciate it. Can't wait to see the Fazchair compendium or encyclopedia or A to Z or.
Now we can move on to the interviews that the actors did. So the first one is by Flooferland. The actual chair itself has air compressors to make the wrist clamps open and close. And to keep them closed, they had a magnetic field, which wasn't too strong.
The chair mechanism, it did have, actual air compressors that was making the clamps open and close. And then there was a magnetic field that was holding them closed. But it wasn't so strong that I couldn't get out of anytime I wanted to.
Ryan Reinicki actually hurt himself in the scene.
I did hurt myself on that, but it was from my performance, and it wasn't from the setup itself. It's because I was pulling my hands against these clasps to make it look real.
The blades in the mask were all EVA foam.
As far as the mask goes, I mean, you guys go to cons, you know what EVA foam is. All the blades in the mask were EVA foam that were just very well carved and airbrushed and looked like metal, so I didn't have like actual metal spinning at my face.
The crane contraption was moved towards his face by puppeteers.
And the whole crane contraption that's on was controlled by two guys that were on the ground, slowly moving it towards my face.
The second day of Ryan's filming days was when he filmed the Shreddy scenes.
I had 2 film days. My first day was pretty much half me, half Josh, and then the second day was just like all my stuff with the hallway and the chair and coming out of the vent.
He got to see Shreddy on the first day while waiting to film the vent scenes.
Yeah, actually I got to see it on the first day when I was filming the vent stuff.
That's all for Flooferland's interview. Now let's move on to Sweeney Boy's interview. He talked about his cut scene.
Your scene got cut a decent amount, correct?
I wouldn't say a decent amount, but there is one shot at least that got cut. And it was being drugged down the hallway after trying to escape through the gated door there. And yeah, it was quite a setup. I mean, we spent maybe 40 minutes on it or so figuring it out because they had to actually like strap my legs to like the dolly that the camera was on and like pull me down off the way while the camera's like pointed down at me. And they did it a couple of times with like one of the crew guys just to, figure it out, kind of get everything dialed in. Like, all right, Ryan, you ready? I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm here for. And so the makeup department put a nice big old wad of like fake blood on the back of my head. So when I got pulled, it was like, it looked like a line of blood. And I was like, this is going to look so awesome.
Someone on set asked him if he was comfortable in the chair. And he talked about some cut dialogue.
She was like, you're doing great, Ryan. Are you comfortable in the chair? And I was like, as comfortable as one could be, yeah. I mean, I'm laying here, everybody else is standing holding equipment and stuff. And she actually had to remind me the one line that I had, which is no. And I don't even think that made it in, actually.
I was gonna say, I don't think I heard a no.
Yeah, I also gave a please not like this line, because I just love that phrase, and they just decided to cut that out.
That's all for Sweemy Boy's interview. Moving on to Ale's interview. He spoke with Artie about the machine.
Yeah, I actually recently connected with the guy on Twitter who is in control of like the blades and some of this stuff, and there's some photos of him. You can see he's got kind of like a little model airplane remote control, but he was working the saw, and there were actually like two guys on the ground that were like pushing manually. They were pushing the whole crane.
You could feel the wind coming off the spinning blades at one point during filming.
It got pretty darn close. I could feel the wind coming off the blades.
He filmed his video of casting in November 2022.
November 21st, 2022 is the date that I have on those videos.
Now let's move on to the interviews that Artie did. This one is made by Sound Scary, a horror talk show. He calls it a torture chair.
Well, any of the bears I play Freddy, I play Golden Freddy, and then I play the torture chair that both the security guard and Josh Hutcherson interacted with in the movie.
That is quite literally all for this interview. Now let's move on to Mag Freddy's interview. Artie watched it as close as he could. Instead of using a monitor, which he would usually do.
So while normally I would watch my performance on a monitor to see what the camera's seeing, in this case I actually just stood as close as I could to Josh and the bear without getting in the shot, so that I could actually see with my own eyes when it was getting close to him and I needed to let go of the controls.
Golden Freddy was easier to do than Shreddy Fazchair.
Easy to do was the torture machine or Golden Freddy?
Oh, Golden Freddy.
Scott really wanted to have Shreddy Fazchair at his house.
That he wanted to take them home with him, and that he was definitely taking the torture chair with him.
That's all for the interviews. Moving on to the collabs that Shreddy is featured in. In the Dead by Daylight collab, we can see a torture endo, which is very likely a reference to Shreddy. Eric Pope, who is the community director for Dead by Daylight, even liked my comment where I said it was a reference to Shreddy. The cool thing is that he is the Maury kill for Springtrap, and he's also seen in parts and service in the pizzeria. We saw him in one of the images that was given to IGN ahead of the release of the chapter. But besides that, that's about it for the Dead by Daylight collab. There's also this thing from the Saudi Arabia haunted house, which could be Shreddy. It's not documented enough to tell like confidently, but it could be. He also appeared in Halloween Horror Nights, and he is super accurate. The only difference I can see is the ear inside being bigger and being on the top and bottom. The color seems to also be a bit lighter, and Ryan said on Twitter that the wrist clamps are smaller in person. They seem to be the same from Orlando and Hollywood, and Bob pops out and scares the audience after they see Shreddy. When the media visited, they had a familiar color of eyes. While we are on Tiger Rock, a paper shredder appeared in Secret of the Mimic. Is he Shreddy? No, but he is a shredder, which is close enough for me. Now let's move on to the content creators' opinions.
So to me, I always thought that the torture machine was a really interesting implementation into the FNaF franchise. After watching the movie and reading the book, it always got me thinking if we'll ever see more of it, and maybe to see how it was made. But to me overall, I think it is a really cool addition to the franchise, and even in my opinion, taking #1 over the scuba mechanic from Sister Location.
My opinion on Shreddy Fazchair or Torture Freddy or whatever, I just feel like it's such a cool concept to put in a film like this, and really demonstrates William Afton's more sadistic side. Taking that classic line from the first game,
forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit,
and putting their own Saw-inspired John Kramer twist to it. Literally.
Torture Freddy, or Shreddy Fazchair as a lot of fandom has nicknamed them, is fairly fascinating in what they are, as obviously its main purpose is to act as the movie's way of implying Williams' experiments on life and death in a more direct visual showcase. Though there's also a full-body version of the character as well, which adds a lot of mystery to who they originally were before they were modified.
Shreddy Fazchair. Oh, how do I explain my thoughts on you, my friend? I know. This thing is single-handedly the coolest thing in the franchise, but also the most confusing thing at the exact same time. Like, you tell me why William or the animatronics watched Saw and thought, ah, yes, you know what I can do? Let's make a spare Freddy head into a Saw contraption and have the animatronics use it to kill the night guards. Like, what do you mean? I love it so much, but also just like, why is it here, Scott? Why Blumhouse? Give me an answer already!
It's interesting because the first game didn't have like an actual by design torture device. It was always the animatronics would just stuff you into an empty suit because they thought you were an exoskeleton. Whereas this is like actually made for this purpose. Like there's no other reason for it to operate this way. So it's going to be interesting to see if any future movies give any extra context for why this thing exists, or if it's just, no, it's just a torture device, get over it.
Hi, my name's Bailey, also known as Borko's #1 fan. Who's Borko, you might ask? Borko was a character created by Dorko in 2021 to promote the mobile game The Walking Dead Survivors. Unfortunately, there wasn't another sponsorship, meaning Borko was a character who was really underrated with like 2 minutes of screen time. You know who else is an underrated character with around 2 minutes of screen time? Shreddy Fazchair. Borko and Shreddy Fazchair are both beautiful, underrated characters and need to be more appreciated within the community. Bring back Borko, bring back Shreddy.
So, Shreddy Fazchair, I'll be completely honest, I think it's kinda stupid. Not gonna lie.
Torture Freddy is also one of the gorier scenes we get in the FNaF movie, and also one of the gorier scenes we get in FNaF. If you really think about it, most of the most gruesome scenes we get, like the Spring Lunk incident or Charlie's death, are shown in the form of 8-bit minigames, so to see this was a pretty cool addition. Also, I mean, you know, with a name like Shreddy Fazchair, that's an automatic S tier in my opinion.
Personally, I believe the Torture Chair, or Shreddy Fazchair, played a big role in the FNaF movie. First of all, being at the beginning, it set the mood for the rest of the film. Despite being a little far-fetched, it fits the nature of FNaF perfectly. Add to that, this chair is commendable. The chair also indirectly pays homage to competitors of the horror scene, with many fans calling it a saw trap. The chair scenes were arguably the most tense and were for some, especially this guy, the best scenes we got in this absolute cinema. While I won't be taking my love of this fictional chair to my grave, I do like its role within the film, movie, motion picture, whatever. And while some may think it shifts this very harrowing tale in a dystopian way, the acting demonstrated by Ryan and Josh couldn't be more real, and were key parts where the protagonists really felt fear. Would I personally make a video on Shreddy Fazchair? No, but yeah, I think he's pretty calm.
Hi, I'm here to state my opinion on Shreddy Fazchair. Personally, I think Shreddy's concept as a character is, well, great. Shreddy's main purpose being to kill unwanted guests and to keep people's mouths shut is psychotic, but then again, William Afton did make him. And if any of you 5-year-olds out there are thinking, well, Shreddy Fazchair only had like 5 minutes of screen time, I swear to God, well, yes, this is true. Shreddy is still a great character, and he adds a lot of lore to the earlier days of the restaurant. As Shreddy looks old and withered, it's safe to assume he's been used to kill night guards and people for years. It's also one of the more gory scenes we get in the film, even if it isn't shown directly. The intentions are there, and it's brutal.
I think Shreddy Fazchair is super cool and unique. The design of a Freddy mask slicing your face apart is gruesome yet so exhilarating. I love that they included it in the movie, and I really hope it's used for future movies. My only issue is I think Mike escapes from it a bit too easily, but other than that, it's super cool, super scary, I love it.
I think Shreddy Fazchair is like very torturous and it's like very cool. I like the design.
The Torture Machine, I believe, was such an amazing way to start the FNaF movie. It shows the creative liberties taken by Blumhouse while expanding on the twisted creations of Afton that we've seen in the likes of the Scooper, but here we see a machine built specifically to torture its victims, which highlights just how evil Afton really is.
I think, honestly, the Torture Freddy chair is a really cool concept, and it kind of shows a darker side in the FNaF movie, and kind of like in the FNaF universe overall. I really hope they find a way to bring the Torture Freddy suit, or find another form of it to bring it into the games, or they find a way to at least explore that more dark side of the FNaF, because I really like the green, where it's kind of like super dull green colored. It's like a very withered looking suit. It doesn't look like a traditional Freddy suit. It looks really old, like Fredbear's era maybe, or even before that, we don't even really know. But overall, I think the Torture Freddy chair should be explored more. A really cool concept. And yeah, that's my thoughts on the Torture Freddy chair. Subscribe to T.O.F.G. See ya.
I think the torture machine from the FNaF movie was pretty cool, you know, sitting in the cinema and seeing that like saw device type thing was pretty scary, I have to be honest with you. Yeah, cool stuff.
Now we can move on to the next section, which is the info. So of course the biggest thing we've got since that video is the merch. We got a figure by U2s, which features Mike and Shreddy. It's designed by the Real Ratcon on Twitter, and it released on May 24th. And it was first teased on the 4th of April 2024, and later teased on the 8th of April, when you brighten up one of their images. And they've now been shipped out. I have mine and it's incredible. The box quotes are, "So there's this theory that we can't forget things. That every single thing you see in your entire life, down to the tiniest of details, gets stored inside of you. You just have to know where to look." Unrelated, but I also took it to Alton Towers in July. We got some early concept art from Shreddy, and it was originally going to be a lot more terrifying. It was going to be put in the mouth and not be an actual chair, and boy, I'm glad they went with Shreddy. Did you know that on Alarmy stock images, you can buy an image of Shreddy? I actually managed to get an interview with the person who popularized the name Shreddy Fazchair, who had this to say: "It's super cool for me too. Like, I'm honestly really glad someone has become a fan of something I'm responsible for naming. No problem whatsoever. I'm glad to answer any questions." And of course you can include them. Go right ahead. I can't think of anything else to mention, but if something comes to mind, I'll let you know. Go check out their socials in the description below. Aaron Margolin has said it's possible that we could see a figure of Shreddy Fazchair in their Jazzwares line. There is an official Shreddy Fazchair GIF, which is taken from the second FNaF movie trailer, with Bob in the trap. There was also semi-official art of Shreddy from Ryan's Etsy page. Speaking of Ryan, another obscure fact is that there is an official Shreddy Fazchair Christmas phone wallpaper. No, I am not joking. Look at this that Ryan made, which has the hashtag of Shreddy Fazchair and has red eyes like Shreddy. Did you know that there are 2 official models of Shreddy Fazchair? Although it is kinda up for debate, but Fira Young, who has made ads for the FNaF books, made one to promote the movie novel, and it has this scene in it. And Kevin Silver reportedly made models for the FNaF movie, one of them being Shreddy Fazchair. It could be real, it could be fake, I'm not sure, but Artie did share it on his socials, so take it as you will. And finally, did you know that the Fazchair itself is actually an early 19,000s Rita's dentistry chair, which is quite funny because the YouTubers that visited the set compared it to a dental care. Shout out to Bear5 Fanatic on Twitter for sharing that with me. Now let's move on to the theories section, which Keeno will be doing. Take it away, Keeno.
One of the biggest mysteries in the FNaF movie is Shreddy Fazchair. He used to torture and kill night guards who entered the pizzeria. Since October, many theories have been crafted about this machine and how it came to be. Let's get on to it. Bear in mind that these aren't facts, just theories. First theory is the torture machine is a spring-lock suit. The saws in the bear mask are also similar to Ella's mask. Ella is quite literally shown to be a spring-lock suit in the movie. Another piece of evidence to support this is that Shreddy's body is seen in parts and service. This body does have spring locks. Our next theory is that William Afton made the torture machine to experiment and extract remnant. There are saws in the head, and it would be a very agonizing death. He could be doing it for his other experiments. Our next theory is that, just like Ella, Shreddy is also taken from the novels, specifically the Silver Eyes trilogy. The suit that Carlton was stuffed into when he was talking with William Afton in the book. Final theory about Shreddy actually comes from the game FNaF 1. The parts of service, we can see an endoskeleton sitting on a work table. Looks lifeless, right? Just a normal endo. But say if we get jump scare in FNaF 1 and die, we are shown a game over screen of our lifeless body as Mike Schmidt in a Freddy Fazbear suit, sitting in the exact same position that endoskeleton was sitting in. Simply be an old Freddy Fazbear suit we were stuffed in? Let's take a look at the FNaF movie. Shreddy Fazchair and parts and service in the movie. Shreddy is used to kill the night guards or stuff them. However, in an R-rated draft screenplay of the movie, the night guards' eyes were originally meant to pop out of Shreddy's eye sockets, just like in the game over screen in FNaF 1. So, Shreddy in this Freddy Fazbear suit could literally just be the same, with lots of similarities. However, we see Shreddy's endoskeleton in the training tape. Endoskeleton looks just like the endoskeleton in parts and service in FNaF 1. His head may be that Freddy Fazbear suit head, and the body may belong to the endoskeleton in FNaF 1. I just thought it was a cool way to explain why the guard was stuffed in FNaF 1. To say a massive thank you to that one FNaF guy again for having me on. Enjoy the rest of the video.
That is all for this series. This has been, this is the biggest thing I've ever put out on my channel. And I can't thank you guys enough. Listen, never in my life would I thought I'd be getting an interview with an official FNaF movie actor. People have tagged me in, stuff where Shreddy appears, and that's just astounding to me, because, it's just, I'm recognized as one of the like biggest Shreddy fans, and I do appreciate it. I appreciate all of you for sticking me with this series. I appreciate everyone who has like watched. I appreciate the YouTubers who have, you know, given their opinions on it. I appreciate Keeno for sticking me with this. I appreciate just everyone for watching, you know, helping out. It means the world to me that, you know, like, this is a video I can put out. Like, thank you so much. It's truly just insane to me. Like, this is, I've put so much research into this, and I'm so happy to finally be sharing it with you. But yeah, this has been that one FNaF guy, signing off.